Snip, tuck, tuck, fold. Crease, tuck, tape.
It's not that complicated, Dad.
Wrap, crease, tape, twist, tape.
Ohio Lottery scratch offs make great holiday gifts. And play Holiday Bonus Millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize.
Fold, crinkle, crinkle, roll.
Plus, you can enter non-winning tickets in My Lotto Rewards for a second chance to win up to 1,000 times the price of your ticket.
Please crinkle, gate, fold, ring and curl, scrunch.
The best part, Dad? No wrapping required.
No tuck, tuck, fold?
No tuck, tuck, fold.
Give the gift of fun. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. From the co-director of Shrek and the visionary behind Toy Story comes Spellbound, a magical new animated adventure starring Rachel Zegler, John Lithgow, Jennifer Lewis, Nathan Lane, and Titus Burgess with Javier Bardem and Nicole Kidman. When a powerful spell turns her parents into monsters, Princess Elian must journey into the wild to reverse the curse before it's too late. Watch Spellbound only on Netflix November 22nd.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to AI Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, joined as always by Mr. Karl Matchett. How are you, sir?
I am terribly, terribly cold.
It has gotten cold this week. I saw videos last night of people in southern England with snow around them.
I have it this morning.
It was a bit odd. Bit odd for you guys to get snow.
I have it this morning, so I can only assume that our good producer Guy is now locked into his house for the next 3 days because it's, drifts all around.
Made for the snow outside Guy's house. Guy has to go out of his house out the upstairs window now. And they just go about it that way. See, because they're so used to it where Guy lives, their upstairs windows open like doors, so they can just walk straight out onto that snow and just carry on regardless.
Have you ever watched The Day After Tomorrow?
Yes.
I sort of imagine that as just like Guy going down to the local shops, where he's just wolf.
Random day, not anything has happened. That's
nothing bad has happened. He's just he needs some milk, so he's walking across the frozen cars and boats and everything else.
Yeah, this is exactly how it is where Guy lives. Right, today we're going to have a little bit of fun, talk some transfers or some potential transfers for the Reds, and then maybe, depending on time, finish off with team of the season so far. So we were sent this question by Jay Carlos on the Anfield Index Discord. He gave us 4 different variations of a left-back, defensive midfield, right-back combination. So I thought if we take them one by one and talk about maybe the individual merits of the groups, and then we can pick our favourite, and then maybe if we've got, a quick second, a close second, we can do that, pick them too. So the first one he suggested is Hincapié left back, Zubimendi as the 6, and Trent signing on and staying at the club to play right back. I think this one will rank high. I mean, keeping Trent is obviously preferable to losing Trent. Zubi, we know the club were very, very keen to sign, and you can see why. He's obviously a top-class player. And then Hincapié, with Zubi not being the elite of the elite defensively, certainly no slouch, but he's not he's not a Rodri defensively. Hincapié would give us some extra defensive solidity slotting in at left back over Robbo or Costas.
Yeah, without obviously giving too much of the game away of what's coming ahead, we've got 4 selections here, like you said, and this is the only one where we get to pick Trent. So, like you said, keeping Trent is immediately a big bonus, is immediately something that we know we're staying with, which works and is excellent, and that's always a big consideration. Zubimendi obviously was the one that we wanted, so you've got 2 really good parts there, and you're only really changing one away from what could have been. And we know that Hincapié has been spoken about, has been watched, is certainly a consideration anyway. So I think that this is a really, really balanced 3. If we're assuming, obviously, the triangle behind them, the centre-backs and goalkeeper stays the same. I think that this is definitely a really good balance in terms of progression and defence. The only thing I would potentially say is I don't think that it is as much lateral thrust, vertical thrust perhaps, down the flanks. It probably isn't a fullback partnership, which gives us a ridiculously quick out ball or someone who's always going to be looking to go on the outside of the wide forwards. There's probably not outrageous on the ball one-on-one ability there, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Hincapié, when he goes forward, he prefers to underlap than overlap. And he is quick, but he's not an outrageously fast player. And we know what Trent is when he goes forward. Like, Trent is more reliant on passing and crossing ability than he is on pure pace to beat somebody. But with a Zubimendi type of 6, perhaps that is the type of fullback pairing we would need. The next trio would get us that pace, would get us that outlet. So it would have Milos Kerkez at left back, Pedro Porro at right back. So you'd have 2 turbocharged fullbacks, and then Aurelien Tchouameni as the 6. So the more defensive presence becomes the number 6. Obviously, still a good passer, but not a Zubimendi level passer. I do quite like this trio. I think, like you said, this would give you your width. This would give you your pace out wide. Would give you relentless attacking threats. Some question marks defensively, perhaps, but I think it's still a great 3.
Yeah, it's a very exciting 3, isn't it? This is like a classic fullback pairing of the last sort of, decade and a half or so, where you really are going to push them on as much as possible. I would say if you had a normal 4-3-3 kind of manager who just wanted to attack a lot and counter-attack and be really, really good in transitions, this is good, because Tchouameni is obviously defensively very strong, but his ball carrying, his transition play is actually pretty good as well. So there's a lot of force there in terms of breaking forward quickly, in terms of probably getting ahead of McAllister, you would imagine, in a normal 11, let's say, in the counter-attacking situations and so on. So it's a very fun one. I do think that it's not necessarily an earn a slot combination of all 3 places.
Yeah, I kind of agree on that. The interesting thing with this trio is, I think this trio requires you to have 2 midfielders who are of a very high level off the ball. Now, we know Alexis is very good, but he's not a dynamic athlete. So I would say if you're playing Porro right back, Kerkez left back, Alexis has to become your 10, not one of your double pivot. So Tchouameni is 1. I think Szoboszlai then has to either be the backup 10 or potentially go into he can rotate there and rotate on the wings. That's fine. But the question would be, who's the other one in midfield?
Are you looking for someone more athletically inclined than Dawes, let's say?
I would say of the 2 we have. So you would have Tchouameni, you would have Alexis as the 10, and I think the other position then becomes either Curtis Jones or Ryan Gravenberch.
Yeah.
But I think that's fine. Like, I think if those two are battling it out, if Gravenberch is still playing at this level, where every week he's turning in, well, not every week, he's had a couple of shaky ones, but most weeks he's turning in good performance. Curtis is turning in good performances every week. I think if you've got the two of them battling it out for that other spot, I think that's a really good makeup and would give you the balance you need. But like you said, it's probably not an Arne Slot fullback pairing.
It looks like an Ange Postecoglou pairing.
It does. It does look like an Ange Postecoglou pairing, except his midfield three would be Harvey Elliott, Alexis, and Szoboszlai, with no consideration for what anybody was going to do defensively.
Yeah, we may have to.
It would just be Ibu and Virgil standing miles away from everybody else with lots of open space in front of them.
Yeah, we'll have to temper that a little bit for our particular style. But yeah, I think that's a very, very interesting and a very good three players anyway.
Right, the next one, Rayan Aït-Nouri at left back, Jules Koundé at right back, and Carlos Baleba is the 6. I have to say, I really like this trio.
I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but this is my favourite one.
Yeah.
It's not the one I'm choosing, but it's my favourite one, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it's my favourite one as well. But first of all, having Ibu and Koundé on the right is nobody's attacking us down the right. Baleba is, I think, potentially an absolute sensation in midfield. And then, I think Aït-Nouri...
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
This episode is brought to you by Etsy.
Oh.
Hear that?
Okay. Thank you.
Etsy knows these aren't the sounds of holiday gifting. Well, not the ones you're hoping for. You want squeals of delight. Happy tears.
How did you?
And spontaneously written songs of joy.
I am so happy. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, the song needs a bit of work, but anyway, to get those reactions, make sure everyone on your list feels heard with handmade, handpicked, and designed gifts from small shops on Etsy. Gifts like personalized jewelry, custom artwork, cozy style items, vintage pieces, and home decor to celebrate all of your favorite people and their specific kind of special. For original gifts that say, I get you, Etsy has it.
He's inconsistent defensively, but I've seen this narrative around him the last couple of days that he can't defend. I've seen that guy put Mo Salah, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden,
Bukayo
Saka, Bernardo Silva. He's put them all in straitjackets.
Yeah, no. Look, Aït-Nouri was always a very, very tenacious defender, even when he was playing in France. That hasn't gone away. What you can say that he lacks is perhaps 90-minute concentration, or the fact that he's playing in a team that doesn't have defensively elite talent around him, and therefore Some of the time, obviously, he takes it upon himself to do a bit more on the ball than you would necessarily like to do at that particular time or that type of game or that type of defence, which does lead to trouble. But his team don't really have anybody else to take the lead in that sort of way if you want to try and play out or you want to try and lead the ball from the back. So I don't really place loads of blame on him on that. Also, he's got better and he can still get better. So again, I see no real issue with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, he is. I think there's a long way to go for him yet, still, to be honest.
Yeah, and like I would have to believe that if you're playing next to Virgil, that's slightly better than playing next to Craig Dawson. So I think that would help him as well. I really like this trio. Like I actually love this trio. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, give me some of that.
I think this is the best balance of technical ability, physical ability, and control.
Yeah, me too. Right, the final trio then is Juan Miranda at left back, Malo Gusto at right back, and Lamine Camara as the number 6. Now, I adore Lamine Camara. I think he is such a special talent. I think the fullback pairing here, while good, I think it's the weakest of the 4. And I think as a 6, Lamine is the least established of the 4.
What I think of this is that if Man United went out this summer and put that together, they'd be taking massive steps forward. But if we get together, we would be moving backwards.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I do. I think that's very fair. Give me Lamine Camara and Baliba to add to our midfield group, and I would be very happy. Right.
What I will just say is, obviously, those 3 names, when we put the lists together initially last week, I think those 3 were all 3 of mine.
Yes.
But it's individually, those players would work, but put them together in the setup, and I think that's a step back for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think if you put Lamine with Koundé and Aït-Nouri, all of a sudden that looks different. I think, again, if you put Baliba with Gusto and Miranda, that looks different as well. That becomes a little bit more physically strong.
So which one are you picking then out of the 4?
So I would pick the one with Trent.
Yeah.
Because it's Trent.
Yeah.
And because, like, he's ours.
Yeah, and then we get to keep him, and that means he signed the new deal, so I'm the same.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Exactly. And it's also the most cost-effective of them, because you're only having to buy 2 instead of 3. So realistically, if you're talking, say, 60 million for Zubimendi and 40 million for Hincapié, that's considerably cheaper, I think, than the others. I think the only other one that would be even close to the 100 million is Gusto, Camara, Miranda. With Koundé, Baliba, Aït-Nouri, I think you're probably talking closer to 200 million. And I would say with Porro, Tchouameni, Kirkes, you're talking right about 200 million. So it's also the most cost-effective one to keep Trent, even though like his wages would be higher than anyone else in this list, and he would get a signing bonus. I still think from a cost-effective point of view, that's the one. And it's Trent, so yeah.
Yeah, fully on board. Keep Trent. If he does depart and we're forced to choose, then I think, yeah, the Koundé one, Baliba is just insanely good.
Yeah. If it is a different one, it's the Koundé, Baliba, Aït-Nouri one for me, for sure. Right. Next little game. One ideal and one realistic signing from the other 19 Premier League clubs for us. Now, if your ideal signing is also a realistic signing, then you don't have to go up with 2. Let's just go by the table. So obviously we are top of the table with this continued easy start that we've had where we haven't played anybody above us in the table yet. It's all just going very nicely. But second in the table, Carl, Manchester City. So an ideal signing and a realistic signing from Manchester City.
Who have they got who's out of contract in summer?
Let's see.
You look up that, and in the meantime, I'll go for my ideal signing. I think, given that the positions we've been speaking about, I would probably say Gvardiol to potentially play that left-sided left back, but left-sided centre-back, which sort of tilts and pivots and all the rest of it. I think he was probably who I'd go for as the ideal one in this setup.
He would be mine as well. And their out-of-contract players are Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan, and Scott Carson.
So realistic, Scott Carson.
Right. We'll mark him down and we'll move ourselves rapidly along. Chelsea then. One ideal, one realistic.
Ooh. Again, I'd still go if Trent goes to Malo Gusto. I do think that he's a really good alternative.
So I would say he's maybe the realistic one.
Yeah.
From Chelsea, because I do think there's a world in which they will sell off some of what, you would say are their fringe players rather than, their core.
Well, he's a starter.
He is for now. I don't think he is when we get the fully realised version of what Maresca wants. Now, I could be completely wrong about that, but I get the feeling there's another fullback to come in, and I think Reece James obviously will be the starter for the 11 games a season he's fit.
So, if he's the realistic, who's your ideal from Chelsea?
Moises Caicedo.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact that Moises and Alexis works really, really well. So it's not a gamble to bring in Moises. There was a narrative that was built by fans of other clubs around Moises Caicedo last season that he was just terrible all year long, which just isn't true. He had a very bad start there. But from about November on, he started to play well. And whenever he was on the pitch without Enzo, he played really, really well. The issue has always been him and Enzo don't work. It's one of the reasons I think Maresca has dropped Enzo. Now, Moises and Lavia is not perfect either, but it works better than Moises and Enzo. And it's not to say that Enzo's not a really, really good player, because he is. And Enzo is better when Moises is not on the pitch as well. But Caicedo this season has been, like, he was the best midfielder on the pitch in Anfield when we played. I know a lot of people were very excited by Curtis Jones's performance, but Moises was the best midfielder on the pitch from start to finish. Curtis had a really good second half. But in the first half, Caicedo dominated that game. And he had a good second half too, and his assist was really, really good. So I would go Moises as the ideal signing from Chelsea.
Not Robert Sanchez.
Well, I think there's a role for everybody. And if we needed somebody whose job was to go into the crowd and collect balls that had errantly just ended up in the crowd, Robert Sanchez will be quite good at that. Maybe putting up the nets because he's tall.
Yeah, true.
So, he could put up the nets.
What about before the game where one of our coaches usually shoots at the goalkeepers?
I would put him in charge of collecting the balls that were off target rather than doing anything to do with the actual goalkeeping training. Do you know, the job you might give him, I don't know if you're a Father Ted fan, but you'll remember that Father Dougal was once placed in charge of looking after the corner flags. I might give that job to Robert Sanchez. I still think he'd be terrible at it. Up next is the Arsenal. Who would be your ideal signing from the Arsenal? I think we're going to differ here.
So, should a certain Mohamed Salah not renew his deal, it's an easy pick for me that Saka would be ideal. Realistic. Tell me that there's a realistic signing from Arsenal. It's not that many I would want from Arsenal.
No, there's not either. I think my ideal one would be Calafiori, although I do worry about the injuries. The realistic one, I mean, out of contract, Thomas Partey and Jorginho, you definitely wouldn't want either of them. Partey because he's a terrible set of lads, and Jorginho because he's going to be 33 and he's not quick and he's not great defensively. So, there probably isn't a realistic one from Arsenal, unless it's an academy player, because we know that Mikel Arteta hates all young people. So maybe he's turned on Ethan Nwaneri by the end of the season, and the poor lad needs desperately to get out of London.
If there was a continuation of Arteta's pattern so far of signing at the very least 2 centre-backs to play fullbacks at every 3 months, then if they do that again in summer, I'd probably have a little bit of a nibble at Timber.
Yeah, that's a shout. That's a shout. He can play pretty much anywhere. Right. It'll get easier from here because we're moving out now of the rivals kind of area. There's only one there's 2 more clubs that realistic might become tricky, but the rest should be easy enough. Nottingham Forest, Carl. My ideal one is probably Danilo. So I think he could be our 6. But he's out injured until January or February. A realistic one, I think Murillo is realistic.
Yeah, I was going to say Murillo.
And I think he could play that left-back role for us. Now, it might work better with a Pedro Porro type of right-back than with a Trent, because you get that kind of overlapping pace. But I still think it works really well with Trent, Ibu, Virgil, and Murillo as a back 3. I think you could use him the same way City used Gvardiol. I think he's really good on the ball. I think this season he's been outrageously good defensively. So yeah, I would say he's definitely one.
So I think in a lot of the teams from this point, you could say that an ideal one might well be realistic as well.
Yeah, true.
But let's assume that our preferred one is the ideal one, and then let's say they're not available. That's the realistic. So Maria is the top one for me there. And then I would probably also... Depends a lot on what we do, but I would probably also be happy to see the price, let's say, of Callum Hudson-Odoi, because I still really like him. And if not, Ola Aina as a both sides cover if he's not expensive.
Oh yeah, well I really like both of those players, and they're both players we've brought up before. Brighton and Hove Albion. So I think the ideal is Carlos Baleba.
Yep.
Realistic then, if let's just say they decide that they need 100 million for him because they're Brighton and Hove Albion and they are prone to do these things.
Yes.
I would say João Pedro as our 9 would be absolutely perfect.
Would you be tempted by a Purvis Estepinian?
I would be, other than I do have some injury concerns after what happened to him last season and the fact that he had a recurring hamstring problem. That would concern me a little bit, but I do really like him as a player. I mean, I really like most of their squad. I think it's, other than centre-back and a bit of depth at right-back, I think they've got an absolutely phenomenal squad back to front. They're stacked. It's ridiculous.
It's Julio Cecil. Yeah. There's a lot of them are like on the verge of being very, very good, but in terms of players and style and depth, it's better than Man City's in depth.
Yeah.
It's better than Arsenal's in technical terms when they're all obviously playing well on form, blah, blah, blah. But obviously the mental and experience side of that is why Arsenal's is better still. But it's so good.
It's so good. It's ridiculous. And like, even just look at some of the players they've got out on loan. They've got 3 really impressive young goalkeepers just out on loan. You know, maybe they'll play in the future. Maybe they won't. It's fine. We've got this guy. It's just, they've got the young Yalkoi kid as another midfielder for the future. You've got Evan Ferguson. Their wing options are just outrageous. Like, it's so full of talent. It is just centre-back where they need to look to maybe invest in January or next summer.
Yeah.
And maybe that what they do there is they sell on a Stupin and then sell on Matoma, and that funds their window. And yet they still have a Dingra and Osman as the left wingers, and then they'd still have Kadiaglu and Barco as the left backs. So, like, you'd be selling two outstanding players, probably bringing in around 100 million. You wouldn't need to reinvest in those areas. You could maybe throw 10 million at each position and find a gem and stick the rest into centre back, maybe buy a right back. Like, yeah, credit to them. Unbelievable squad building job.
So, as I've said before, I'd like to see Jorginho and Rutter a bit longer before I really consider. But the one you've just mentioned actually would be my realistic Simon Adingra. I think he's so quite a player.
Fulham. Interesting.
Is it?
Not really.
I don't really like this squad. I like a few of the players individually, but I don't really like this squad. I'm glad Smith Rowe has found somewhere where he can play, for example, but I absolutely don't want Liverpool to be signing him.
No, I'd worry about his injuries. I would worry about his injuries. I do love watching him play, but I really like watching him play for another club. I'm thinking about what might be, but I worry about the injuries if we did sign him.
I'd go for a backup centre-back in Calvin Bassey. And not a lot else.
I would probably gamble, and it would be a gamble because he's not playing well this season, on Rodrigo Muniz. He'd be about the only one. On Fulham, while we're on them, what do you make of Anthony Robinson? Because I keep seeing people say he's the left back we should sign, and I watched, I don't know why I watched, but I watched this foolish segment on that Soccer Saturday Social or whatever the fuck it's called, and they were talking about players United should sign, and someone suggested Robinson for them, and I thought, you know what, for them, absolutely, you crack on and do that, but I'm not keen. Like, I watch a decent amount of Fulham, and unless it's a big TV game, he just doesn't turn up for me most weeks.
Look, I mean, as we've just said before, there's a big gap between what would be a good signing for United and what would be a good signing for Liverpool. So I wouldn't be looking to sign him for us, no. I do think he's a decent Premier League player, but that's probably as far as I would say it goes with him at the minute.
I think he's a mid-table player personally.
And he's a 27-year-old now. It's not like he's going to be getting astonishingly better than he is. I think he's good. I think if Fulham turned out to be like a top 8-9 team, he would still be in the team. But that's about as far as I'd go. If you want to buy him, if your aims are higher than that, it's probably for solidity rather than excellence.
Yeah. I think he's a squad player at the top team, to be honest. Right, the Toon. I think most people would say their ideal one from the Toon is Isak. I think No, I worry about the injuries. I think he's an amazingly talented player, but I worry about the injuries.
See, I'm less about the injuries and more just about the killer consistency.
Yeah, because the price is going to be up. Like, it would be obscene. You're talking probably 120 million. I think they'll want a Premier League record fee for him, and I'm not paying that for him.
No.
I think my ideal one would be...
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, We don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Black Friday is coming, and for the adults in your life who love the coolest toys, well, there's something for them this year too. Bartesian is the premier craft cocktail maker that automatically makes more than 60 seasonal and classic cocktails, each in under 30 seconds at the push of a button. And right now, Bartesian is having a huge site-wide sale. You can get $100 off any cocktail maker or cocktail maker bundle when you spend $400 or more. So, if the cocktail lover in your life has been good this year, or the right kind of bad, get them Bartesian. At the push of a button, make bar-quality cosmopolitans, martinis, Manhattans, and more. All in just 30 seconds. All for $100 off. Amazing toys aren't just for kids. Get $100 off a cocktail maker when you spend $400 through Cyber Monday. Visit bartesian.com/cocktail. That's BARTESIAN.com/cocktail.